listening to This Week in Big Sky Football, a comprehensive look at all this week's action in Big Sky Football. Now here's your host, Scott Garrard.
That's right. It's another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Scott Garrard. Some crazy, incredible games last week in the Big Sky Conference. More on tap this upcoming weekend. So we're going to break it all down for you. First off, great show. Northern Arizona coach Jerome Souers will join us here in just a moment. In segment number 2, Eastern Washington quarterback Gage Gubrud. Also in segment number 3, stats Craig Haley. Before we get out to Coach Souers, let's give you a lineup of games going into this upcoming week, or from previous weekend. Eastern Washington got a 41-17 victory over Montana State. Eagles went on a 27-0 run to close that game. Eagles quarterback, as we mentioned, Gage Gubrud, throwing for 520 yards, 4 touchdowns. How about Cooper Kupp? 13 catches, 154 yards, and a score. Eastern now 4-0 in Big Sky play. Northern Colorado picking up a 27-19 victory over Sacramento State as the Bears break a 2-game losing skid. UNC going on a 20-10 run late in the second half of that game. And Sac State, Jordan Robinson also rushing for 128 yards in the loss. North Dakota staying unbeaten in Big Sky play. They get a 28-21 victory over Idaho State. Fighting Hawks, they go on a 28-7 run, highlighted by Keaton Studsrud, throwing 2 touchdown passes along with a rushing score. Don't look now, Fighting Hawks now 5-0 in Big Sky play. Cal Poly with a 21-16 victory over UC Davis. Dano Graves rushing for 2 touchdowns in that game. Mustangs keep the Golden Horseshoe in St. Louis Obispo. Also Kyle Lewis, 141 yards and a score for Cal Poly. And Weber State, crazy game over the weekend. Down 36-14 midway through the fourth quarter, 23 unanswered points. They end up winning that game 37-36. Weber State also staying undefeated in Big Sky play. And finally, Northern Arizona, impressive 45-34 victory over Montana. Lumberjacks with a balanced offensive attack as NAU stretched its lead to 45-20. Blake Kemp throwing for 259 yards and 4 scores. So with that, let's go out to the head coach of the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks, Coach Jerome Souers. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing well. Always fun to catch up with you, especially after a big win like that. You started the season slow. You responded with a string of impressive weeks. What's been the cause of that switch apparently being flipped for your team?
We had a pretty challenging schedule early in the year, and we didn't perform to the level that required to get the wins we wanted. In some of the change in our lineup with our quarterback in particular, Case Cookus, I think it took a little while for us to find our real identity. And we had a young defense at the beginning, and we knew they were going to be an improving unit, and they've shown to do that. Under Andy Thompson's guide, I think they've gotten better every week. And some of the teams we've been playing to match up with, our guys have risen up and played a lot better. And so that's really helped improve our overall performance as a football team, just weekly getting better and adjusting to some of the new roles that were thrown on us early in the season.
Never easy to replace a guy named like Case Cookus, but Blake Kemp came in and has played well, especially last week. How have his teammates done in reacting to him being the guy and rallying around him?
Well, I tell you, Blake has done a great job of stepping into a really tough situation. Following Case Cookus is not an easy task, but Blake has kind of made the position with his personality and his leadership. He's great for team chemistry. His maturity and overall sense of what we need to do really has been a calming force on our offensive unit. And I can't give him enough credit for the things he's doing that are intangible, building rapport with the receivers and the offensive line of running backs the way that he has. And it's been fun to watch. It really has. And I think that's really key to us overcoming some of the things that were challenging us and getting our wins back in the left-hand column.
You've had a couple players win Defensive Player of the Week honors. How's your defense come together this season for you?
Well, a couple of our seniors have really stepped their game up. Pelly and now, as a defensive end, was out last year with the shoulder surgeries, and then this year, I think it'll take a little while for him to get his feet underneath him, but he's really come on and has been a force at the line of scrimmage, and has helped our run defense, has helped our pressure on the quarterback, and Jake Thomas, an inside backer, he battled through a few injuries early, but is coming back really strong and playing his best ball of his career. So those two guys have been, among others that have really stepped up our standard of play and, have been rising to meet the challenge.
I don't in any way, shape, or form want to insinuate that you're old, but you've been around this conference for quite a while. Have you seen a conference race quite like this before? Because it seems like from top to bottom, this is as strong as this conference has been in quite some time.
I think we've been saying that every year now for about really the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I think it's not so much it's who. There's really no bottom end of the conference, year in and year out. It's everybody's had their run at the top, and there's the Easterns that have been there, and certainly the Montanas, the Montana States, and Cal Poly has really been consistently up there. But I think Jay Hill has done a wonderful job at Weber State, and certainly Coach Schweigert at North Dakota have really taken their programs to new levels. So lots of new competition with some of the schools that were added in this in the last 5 or 6 years, and it's been has really added to the flavor and to the depth and quality of teams in our conference.
You earned your 111th career win. That ties you with the great Chris Ault for the most wins in conference history. Is that a milestone you think about much, or is that something you have to wait until the offseason to really fully appreciate and enjoy?
I think that's a testament to the program and to the all the coaches and players that have been a part of it, and that's the meaning that it holds for me. Nothing personal. I've obviously been in the league a lot longer than Coach Ault got those wins quite a bit faster. But it's more just a testament to the program's stability, and that we're able to maintain a run that we can build on each year and continue to improve. And I felt like we've done that for 19 years. It feels like a long haul, but we've come a long ways. And it's really pleased with the direction things are going under Dr. Lisa Campos, our athletic director, and our president. And it's really been, some of the more fun years I've had an opportunity to be a part of a program that has been as fun as Northern Arizona's been.
Jerome Souers joining us, head coach at Northern Arizona here on This Week in Big Sky Football. You've got a brutal stretch, Weber State, North Dakota, Southern Utah, but you do have a bye week this week. Is that coming at a good time for you?
Honestly, it is. I think sometimes buys late in the season can be disruptive, but in our case, we've been on a pretty rough schedule, and they've paid a price for it. I think the week will really help us in a lot of ways with getting some of the guys back that have not been completely full speed and feeling better about themselves, and certainly academically, being ready for our stretch run in the classroom is important to have a little extra time, and so it has worked out real well in my opinion, and it'll be really interesting this weekend to see how some of these matchups play out, and what our effect can be at the end of the season towards the conference race.
Well, Coach, we certainly appreciate your time as always. Enjoy the bye week, and we appreciate you taking a few moments out of your time. We look forward to catching up with you again here soon.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks so much.
You got it. Coach Jerome Souers here on This Week in Big Sky Football. Take a quick break, come back, and you'll hear from Eastern Washington quarterback Gage Gubrud. Also, we'll review your Root Sports Players of the Week. It's all coming up next. You're listening to another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football.
What makes a Big Sky champion? Is it toughness? Is it competitiveness? Is it community? Is it achievement? Or is it sportsmanship? All these attributes live in the heart of a Big Sky champion. We're the Big Sky Conference.
The Big Sky Conference has a new app. Search Big Sky Conference on the App Store and Google Play and download the new free Big Sky Conference app. Watch live conference events, connect with Big Sky social media accounts, and access premium exclusive content. The Big Sky Conference app, now available for free on the App Store and Google Play.
This Week in Big Sky Football.
Segment number 2 here on This Week in Big Sky Football. With all the crazy action going on, with all the crazy games, you don't want to miss any of it. Well, the easy way to make sure you catch up on all the action is to download the Big Sky Conference app. If you haven't had a chance yet, it's simple. It's available for free on your App Store and Google Play, and you can get premium exclusive content, watch live games, connect with social media. You can't say you didn't have a way to watch the crazy ending of that Weber State Southern Utah game because it can be right there on your phone. It's a Big Sky Conference app on the App Store and Google Play. All right, we're going to catch up with Eastern Washington quarterback Gage Gubrud here in a moment. But first, let's take a look at your players of the week, brought to you by Root Sports. Northern Arizona linebacker Jake Thomas, your Root Sports defensive player of the week. Leading NAU players with 14 tackles, also forced a fumble, scored a touchdown on a 3-yard reception as well. Not a bad day at the office for him. Eastern Washington kicker Roldan Alcabendis is your Root Sports Special Teams Player of the Week, hitting 2 field goals, including a career-best 48-yarder in that Eastern win. But the offensive player of the week, and he's won a few of these this year, Eastern Washington quarterback Gage Gubrud, your Root Sports offensive player of the week, throwing for 520 yards, 4 scores, and also earned the Stats National Offensive Player of the Week. So with that, let's go out to the phones. Welcome in Eastern Washington quarterback Gage Gubrud. Gage, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing well. I know you're all about the team, and you want to see the team do well, but when you rack up all these individual honors, that has to be nice as well, is it not?
It is. It does. It feels good. It's good for confidence and all that. But right, all you said, all about the team. I'm just happy to come out with a W.
You know, you're only a sophomore. Are all the accolades and the attention your team gets week in and week out, can that be overwhelming at times for you?
I mean, yeah, it could be if you think about it too much. But I just try and kind of block that stuff out and focus on the next game that we got to play on Saturday. So that's just what I try and do, and just focus on what we got to do next, and focus on what we got to do is keep winning ball games.
Did you know going into this season that you had this offense had the capabilities of doing what you're doing right now?
Oh yeah, of course. We knew that we had some weapons with Shaq coming back because he was injured last year, and Cooper obviously, and then we got Kendrick, and then a bunch of other great receivers. And our question was our O-line, but I had confidence that our O-line was they're gonna be young and talented, and I knew that they were gonna get the job done, and they have this season. So we knew that we had the firepower. We just had to go out there and execute.
I've talked to a couple of quarterbacks that say when you've got a great receiving core, they can overcompensate for a lot of mistakes made by a quarterback. And not saying you've made a lot of mistakes, but when you got a guy like Cooper Kupp out there who can maybe make up for a bad throw or a bad read on your part from time to time, what kind of a safety blanket is that for you?
It's nice. It gives you a lot of confidence out there as a quarterback, and it's true, you can go out there and make some mistakes and throw some mediocre balls, and they're gonna make you right by just going up and getting it. So not just Cooper, but Cooper and Shaq and Kendrick and all our receivers do that. So yes, it is. It's really nice as a quarterback to have that in your pocket.
Bo Baldwin has produced some of the Big Sky greats in his tenure at quarterback. What's it like playing a quarterback in that kind of offense and that kind of system for this head coach?
It's a lot of fun. It's an honor, honestly. Coach B is a great coach, and his whole coaching staff is awesome. So yeah, it's an honor. I'm just really, really thankful that I got the opportunity to come here and play. So yeah, not many schools gave me the opportunity to come and play at the Division I level. So I'm just really, really happy that Coach Baldwin gave me that opportunity.
Do you play with that chip on your shoulder that not a lot of teams wanted you?
A little bit, but just kind of passed me now. I mean, I'm a junior in college, so that was 3 years ago. So I'm more just kind of playing, but a little like coming in and earning the spot on the team and all that. I had that little chip on my shoulder, I would say, yeah.
When let's talk a little bit about your path. How did you end up playing at Eastern Washington?
I got preferred walk-on spot, and it was really, really my only legit option to go play at Division I level, which is what I wanted to do my whole life. So that's just kind of what happened. They came and talked to me my senior year of high school and seemed interested and wanted me to come and walk on. So I took the opportunity and ended up here.
Interesting. Gage Gubrud joining us here on This Week in Big Sky Football. Is this a complex offense from a playbook standpoint as far as the intellectual side of it? Is this a difficult system to pick up on?
Not really. It's really simple. I mean, maybe when you first get in here as a freshman, but now that I got it, just kind of everything kind of flows and everything kind of builds off each other. So I don't feel like it's a totally difficult system. No, not at all.
Gage Gubrud joining us here on This Week in Big Sky Football. I want to go back to Cooper Kupp a little bit. He gets talked about a lot and gets a lot of honors and stuff like that. But what's he like as a teammate, working with him, talking with him on and off the field? What kind of a guy is he?
Oh, he's just an awesome guy. He's one of those guys that makes everyone around him better, and I feel like the true definition of a great leader is when you go out and step on the field, and not just on the field, but in the locker room and just in social life. He makes everyone better. He drives you to be a better person and a better player on the field, and there's not much more you could do as a great leader than what Cooper Kupp does, in my opinion. So he's also just a great friend, nice guy. He treats everyone with respect. No matter how good or how many awards he's getting, he treats you with the same amount of respect that he would when he goes to the Peyton Manning Academy and meets Peyton Manning. So he's just a great guy.
All right, so you got a big game against Montana this week. Always a huge matchup. Grizz got you pretty good last year in Missoula. So does that give you a little motivation going into this week, or do you just treat it like another day in the office?
It does. It does give you a little bit more motivation. Kind of want to get back at that because that was not pretty embarrassing game for us last year. But you also got to go in there and treat it like a normal game and prepare like you always do. But just know it's Montana week, and it's not just any normal week. They are our rivals, and it's really exciting and a great opportunity to get to play them.
Well, Gage, we appreciate it. Congratulations on all the success you've had this year. Keep it rolling, man. We look forward to catching up with you again soon.
All right, thank you for having me.
You got it, Gage Gubrud, quarterback of Eastern Washington. Of course, not only your Root Sports Offensive Player of the Week in the Big Sky Conference, but also your Stats National Offensive Player of the Week. All right, speaking of stats, we're going to chat with Craig Haley coming up next. We'll talk about Eastern Washington, Montana. Also recap that crazy Southern Utah-Weber State game as well. It's all straight ahead. You're listening to another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football.
The Big Sky Conference has a new app. Search Big Sky Conference on the App Store and Google Play and download the new free Big Sky Conference app. Watch live conference events, connect with Big Sky social media accounts, and access premium exclusive content. The Big Sky Conference app, now available for free on the App Store and Google Play.
NCAA Division I FCS football is a game of perseverance, integrity, passion, character, and sportsmanship. As he works to honor the game, every FCS student-athlete grows in his responsibilities as a student and as a member of his campus and community. Dedicated to personal growth and success in the classroom, the NCAA Division I FCS, every down, every day.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football.
All right, final segment of this week's show here on This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Scott Garrard. Craig Haley's going to join us here in just a moment. But before we do that, let's take a look at all your games coming up this weekend. And remember, Root Sports, your official television partner of the Big Sky Conference. This week's Root Sports Big Sky Game of the Week comes to you from the great state of Washington as the third-ranked Eastern Washington Eagles host Montana. Kickoff of that game is scheduled for 12:30 Pacific and is available on WatchBigSky.com. Battle of Undefeateds in the Midwest. Weber State travels to Grand Forks to take on North Dakota. Massive game between these two. Fighting Hawks and the Wildcats duel at 1 o'clock Central. That game available on Midco Sports Network as well as WatchBigSky.com. Northern Colorado travels up to the Rose City to take on Portland State. You got a 2:30 Pacific kickoff in that one. Also available on WatchBigSky.com. Southern Utah hoping to rebound after that tough loss last week. They head up north on I-15 to take on the Idaho State Bengals in Pocatello. Thunderbirds and Bengals battle at 2:30 Mountain and again on WatchBigSky.com. And finally, Cal Poly and Sacramento State wage an in-state rivalry in Sacramento. That game kicks off at 6 o'clock on WatchBigSky.com. One common thread in all of that is WatchBigSky.com because it's your home for streaming football, volleyball, soccer, men's and women's basketball, and more. Go to watchbigsky.com or download the Big Sky Conference app to access all the Big Sky games anywhere in the world. Remember, basketball kicking off here in a week or so as well, so you can catch all those basketball games coming up as well. All right, let's go out to the phones. Welcome in the man, the myth, the legend. It's Mr. Craig Haley of Stats. Craig, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Scott. I'm sitting here wondering what the Grizz fans will say if I pick against them this week.
Oh, yeah, let's start in Cheney. Eastern Washington sitting at 6-1, matchup against Montana. Montana coming off a loss. What can the Eagles do if there's anything more they can do to impress you at this point?
Well, you never stop impressing, and that's certainly what the Eagles have done this year. I mean, they've even overcome some injuries to get it done. I think basically they have to keep improving on defense. I mean, it's never quite caught up to the offense, which is, tough to do. But these next two games are their chances to, impress some more with, because they're going to be facing the pass this week with Montana, the run the following week with Cal Poly. It's, tough back-to-back, but that's certainly a way they can impress.
Talk about this individual matchup between these two teams, though. Montana, as we mentioned, coming off that loss. How do you see this game going down?
Well, it's going to go back and forth, obviously. I think Montana will play better than they did a week ago. I mean, to be behind as much as they were. I mean, this is the game they need now. Their backs are to the wall. So I do think this is going to go back and forth. I do like Eastern at home.
We just talked with their quarterback, Gage Gubrud. With his recent performances, he and Cooper Kupp are kind of going back and forth with the Stats Award conversations. What's it like between those two in your mind?
Well, if you ask for, say, a top five right now, there's reason for both of them to be right there. I think Cooper has the name recognition, nationally, and he's the greatest wide receiver in FCS history. I mean, but at the same time, I think, Gage has been consistent. His greatness has been consistent all year, and he's probably even more deserving of national awards than Cooper this year, which is saying a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. Craig Haley of Stats joining us here on This Week in Big Sky Football. Let's go back and chat about that Weber State-Southern Utah game. Granted, this is what I love about FCS football, though, is you always, once a year, you see some kind of weird game like that just has no business happening. What were your thoughts when you're seeing some of the scores and some of the highlights rolling in on that thing?
Well, I do have to admit, after three quarters, I was thinking, well, Weber's not going to quite get in this race, stay in the race or be in the playoff conversation. And sure enough, they prove everybody wrong. I mean, that's the kind of win that can carry a team.
There's no doubt. All right, so let's talk about the Wildcats, though. I mean, obviously had to come from behind, score 23 unanswered to beat Southern Utah. Where do they sit in your mind as they stay undefeated in conference play?
Well, I mean, they have their shot this week, going to North Dakota. Obviously, we look at that. We talked before about that loss to South Dakota. I mean, that since then they've righted the ship and they've proven they can win these kind of close games. And that was incredible a week ago. I think this final stretch of games that they need to win is very demanding. They got to take them game by game, and they can live up to their expectations.
All right, so let's talk about this game. Both teams undefeated in Grand Forks. Weber State, North Dakota. Kind of break this one down. What do you see here?
Well, North Dakota, you have to say, is the favorite, being at home. I mean, if it was on a neutral field, you could make it more of a toss-up in people's eyes. North Dakota's really got the run game going. I mean, they've had over 200 yards in each of their wins, 6 straight. Weber stopping the run hasn't been Weber's strength. I do think the run factor tilts this game in UND's favor.
You look at the conference standings, North Dakota 5-0, Eastern 4-0, Weber State 4-0, Cal Poly still hanging in there at 3-1. In your mind, just how strong is this conference from top to bottom?
I think it's terrific. I mean, you look at the Sagarin ratings, number 2 among conferences. It's always going to be up there, especially such a big league, and eventually be 14 when Idaho comes back. And I think it's a tremendous league. And last year was an unbelievable race in November. I mean, everybody was just looking at each other thinking, uh-oh, I could be in this week and not be in next week and for the playoffs. And I think we're headed to that as well this year.
I know I ask you this question kind of every time this time of year, but could you be looking at a situation where the Big Sky, there might be too much parity, and because a Northern Arizona beats Montana, that might hurt at-large bids at the end of the season?
Well, that's always a fear. I mean, at the same time, you want a lot of teams, capable of beating each other, but that is a fear within a conference, and it happened a few years back with Missouri Valley Conference where they had 2 teams in, and they started, saying that was unfair, and before you know it, the next year they had 5. And, I think the Big Sky is strong enough, though, this year that you have a mix of, 5-6 teams where you're going to probably get 4 playoff spots, even if as they keep beating each other, because you do miss a few matchups because of the unbalanced scheduling being such a big conference. So I think it's a fear, but I do think that the Big Sky is strong enough to overcome it this year.
Northern Arizona has reeled off 3 in a row. Did their win over Montana say more about them, or did it say something about Montana?
Well, great question. I think that, that's the kind of game in which, Montana needed to go into the walk-up Sky Dome, grab a lead and just take care of business on the road. And, so I do think it's telling about the Grizz. That, it shows you that Northern Arizona, why they were the preseason pick in the Big Sky. But I do think the Grizz need to get one back this week, in Cheney.
That's going to be a tough one, too, as they go to Eastern Washington. Huge game. You can watch it on Root Sports. How does this game play out in your mind?
Well, I think, the Eastern offense is just phenomenal. I mean, I've been questioning a lack of a run game with the running backs, and yet they just somehow get it done with the passing every single week. And Gage has been phenomenal. He's got great receivers. I do think Montana is going to be able to score, though. And, I think it's one of those games where it's, going to be 45-40, and that's what fans love. So I go Eastern at home now.
All right. Finally, Craig, as always, weekly tradition. Who's your top 5?
Well, I knew you'd ask this question, and I know I haven't given you much change recently. Really, the only loss of the top 4 in the nation the last month has been North Dakota State on that last-second touchdown against South Dakota State. And I didn't feel that was enough to take, the Bison from the top, especially because they beat Eastern Washington, and I do have Eastern Washington, too. So I think the Bison and Eastern Washington have proven themselves a little more than Jacksonville State and Sam Houston State because of their schedules. So I'm still going with that order. Richmond 5th, but again, I mean, it's a great top 4 and a great playoff ahead.
Craig, as always, we appreciate it. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll catch up with you again next week.
All right, thank you, Scott.
Craig Haley of Stats. Nobody knows FCS football better than that man. He's one of the best. All right, big thanks to him, as well as Northern Arizona coach Jerome Souers, also Eastern Washington quarterback Gage Gubrud. Also, big thanks to Austin Horton, who helps put this show together every week, as well as the executive producer of This Week in Big Sky Football, John Oglesby. I'm Scott Gerard. Enjoy the games coming up this weekend. Make sure to download that app, Big Sky Conference app. You can watch all the games online on your desktop. Take it with you on your phone. It's all available on the Watch Big Sky app. We'll be back with you next week for another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football.